You hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Thank you for having me over.
Fantastic. Jay, just give us a quick overview. Where are we on the African continent, firstly, and secondly, here in South Africa, with regards to the overall the overall attitude towards the LGBTI community?
Yeah, well, firstly, we still have a long way to go in terms of like acceptance of the LGBTI people, which makes up what we call sexual minorities. In the context of Africa, we're still quite far behind, where we are the only country that actually supports and protects the rights of the LGBTI, closely followed by Mozambique just recently. And I think the issue here is there's a strong assumption that everybody is heterosexual and must be heterosexual. And that ideology gets deeply internalized, and which breeds sort of irrational hatred towards the sexual minorities.
Is there a religious element to it, you feel? And how do you think it should be addressed?
Well, I think it's there's a lot of factors involved. For one of the strong opposition's argument that is used is that homosexuality is not African, or that it's against the Bible, all kinds of listings. Well, the actual point is sexual orientation, basically meaning who you're attracted to on more than one level. It's never a choice, you know. Everybody discovers their sexual orientation, whether they're heterosexual, homosexual, or bisexual, at different ages. What happens is those who discover that they're heterosexual, meaning straight, in terms of the street term, they get sort of a thumbs up, basically, from the community, society, saying that you are normal, whatever normalcy means. And those who discover that they are not heterosexual, basically from the point that they discover that they're different, they're made to feel bad about themselves, and they internalize the hatred, and it manifests itself in funny ways. And what happens is, strongly so, is we have people in our society, communities, who are quite leaders and who've got strong positions and power of influence, that what they say make and break. If a person of power says something very negative towards LGBTI people, and it then affirms other people to actually be quite brutal towards the LGBTI.
You work for ART, which is an organization that fights for the rights of the LGBT community. Tell us about the stereotypes that you guys have to face, and also then how do you as ART work or fight against these kinds of stereotypes? What do you do to overcome those stereotypes?
Well, I think first and foremost, the biggest stereotype that we face is that what I mentioned before, that people believing that sexual orientation is a choice. And we all know that it's not a choice, just like people who are heterosexual do not choose to be straight. And another thing that we strongly try to work towards is a lot of our clients, the LGBTI people, experience discrimination when they try to access public services. And a program that we have, we're trying to work with the mainstream societies in terms of making them understand not just the LGBTI, but rather understand how human sexuality broadly works. And while doing that, we actually find it quite successful for making people understand how human sexuality works in general, so that it can actually put all types of sexualities on the same level and sort of normalize that we are all the same. So that's one of the programs that we have as an organization. But we also have counseling services, because a lot of our clients, they experience a lot of hardness from their families, their communities, and school systems and things like that, because they all often feel ignored, and there's no representation of the LGBTI in the mainstream world, which further ostracizes the LGBTI community. So we try to work from both ways, working with LGBTI directly, but also working with non-LGBTI organizations in trying to make them understand, with hope to bridge the gap. And also, of course, including departments, for instance, we're working with Department of Justice, for instance, where we're working on trying to sort of speed up the process in terms of like the hate crimes that have been happening around the country. And they've been quite exceptionally well in accepting and understanding that we need help.
You touch on the hate crimes. We have a lot of hate crimes happening, not just in South Africa, but elsewhere in the continent. We've got a scourge called corrective rape, for instance, that's happening. That's well documented here in South Africa. Are we doing enough to deal with that? And what would you like to see going forward?